Hello, beautiful manifestors. It is Olivia Grace, and I am back with another video for you guys. And today's video is going to be a compilation of some of the most amazing, impossible seeming manifestations that have really allowed me to stretch beyond the limitations of the mind, the limitations of what society or everybody thinks is possible. And these success stories are things that are a lot of them are physically impossible, but they have been done, and a lot of them are just unlikely circumstances that were worked out. Some of them are my stories, some are just stories that I've heard from other teachers, but I'm going to be going through those for you guys today because as I said in my post earlier, this is what has really allowed me to know and to trust that manifestation works. And as I've said probably in other videos, it's not that you have to believe or have to trust in order to manifest. But when you are manifesting something that is difficult to you or something that you're having trouble on, it helps to know that the power of the mind is endless. The power of the mind is infinite. And it helps to know that other people have come through circumstances that I can guarantee are probably more impossible than whatever circumstances that you're facing. So without further ado, I am Olivia Grace. This is the Master Manifestors channel. I talk about law of assumption. I talk about manifestation, and really I explain things very well, very in depth on this channel so that you guys can have a better understanding or figure out where you're getting tripped up on your journey. So if you're interested, then definitely subscribe, like the video, comment. It's helpful to me, helpful to the channel. If you would like to coach with me, then there are links in the description for that as well. I've just offered, just added a 3-month package for those of you who need a bit more support, but all that info is in the description. On my post I made, I said I was your neighborhood hope dealer. And I really feel like that because this channel is a place for you to gain hope. This video specifically is definitely a place for you to gain hope. So without further ado, let's jump into my top 10 most impossible manifestations that I have either experienced myself or clients have or other manifestation teachers. Okay, so the first one is actually silly, but just shows how nothing is set in stone, okay? I spoke briefly in my last video, I think, about parallel realities. And just a quick overview of that is that everything that can happen everything that can happen is happening now. So the version of you that you want to be, or the version of reality that you want to experience, is already in existence, right? So anyways, back to the success story. I like to play with this, right? That's another thing too, you guys, is play with manifestation, and just try it with things that you have absolutely no resistance to, things that you don't care if it goes one way or another. But this one actually tripped me out. So there is a show called Girlfriends. This is like a 90s show, if you guys don't know about it. And it's like one of my comfort shows. So I have watched this show from beginning to end multiple times. Like I would watch from season 1, episode 1, all the way to the end. And I've done that. Like I would start it, finish it, and restart it over like immediately, right? So I'm about the 2nd or 3rd time that I'm watching it all over again. I decided that I wanted to change the ending. So Joan, which is the main character in Girlfriends, is like she's like a can't get a man but desperate for a man type of girl. Like that's like how she is in the show. And in the initial, like in the first memory of the ending of the show, it ends with her not getting married. And I remember thinking at the end of the show, like, man, Joan was the one that was fiending for a husband and she never got married. So as I started it over again, I was like, well, I want her to get married this time. I want her to, I want to manifest her actually getting married this time, even though it's the same show that was recorded like 20, 30 years ago. And so literally at the end, she does end up meeting someone and getting married. And here's the thing about parallel realities is that you almost forget, kind of, because I was like, then I started questioning myself and I was like, but wait, did she always get married? Is that how it's always been? Like, it will feel like that a lot of times when you're shifting realities. But I remember specifically having the feeling of, wow, she fiended for a man this whole entire series, never got one, having the intention, like, you know what, I'm going to intend for her to get married, even though I already know the outcome, changing the outcome, and her actually getting married, you guys. So that's just a little trippy, cute one to start out with, right? The next one was a client of mine, and I actually was commenting. Someone had asked me a question about, I think she said she had like an insurance claim or something, and if it was possible and how stressed she was and everything, right? So this one was a client of mine, and my client ended up being sued, right? I'm not going to go into details of her situation, obviously, because that's private. But she was being sued and she wanted my help to turn that around, right? So we came up with a scene, and in the scene, we saw her joking and laughing with the opposing like lawyer, because she didn't have a lawyer to even represent herself. So we saw in the scene her joking and laughing with the lawyer, and I said that he may even help you. He's gonna even help you with your case. And literally, you guys, both cases were resolved, and the one with the lawyer literally came true, where they were laughing and joking, and he ended up helping them with some type of something that they had going on. Like, obviously, I'm not giving too much details because that's private. But when I was typing that to the girl, I thought about, like, I don't think I've ever talked about that story in a video. I know I posted about it a while back, but I highlight that because, of course, my client was in, like, she was stressed out, obviously. Like, she was super stressed about it. And something like that seems so concrete and so, solidified that this is what it is. But it's never solidified, right? It's not over till the fat lady sings, right? That's what they like, that thing. But the thing is, it's not over till you say it's over. It's not over until you accept defeat, right? You have the final say. And so, yes, you guys, you can use this to get out of legal trouble, which is one of my stories of myself using that as well. But let's go down the list. Oh, now this one was a really crazy one. Now, this one is from Joseph Murphy's book, How to Use Your Healing Power. I think it's called that. It's something like how to use your mind to heal, or something like how to use your healing mind power, something like that. But it is an extraordinary book, you guys. Like, Joseph Murphy is honestly so slept on in the manifestation community and the law of assumption community. It's said that he studied with Abdullah, just like Neville did, but he teaches very similar to Neville. He teaches out of the Bible, and he focuses mostly on prayer and prayer basically, to manifest. But this story in his book was of, like, it was like a 5-year-old child, if I'm not mistaken, that was born without a hand. And they prayed basically, like, I can't remember the exact prayer. And I didn't look it up. I should have looked it up for you guys. But they basically prayed for, like, what Joseph Murphy kind of does is like recognizing the divine that is within you, right? So if you are divine manifested, then you can't be imperfect. So I'm sure the prayer was along the lines of something like that. But this child actually was born without a hand, and within 2 months grew a hand. Like, I think they said within a few weeks, he started like growing like little like fingers. And within either 2 months, or I can't remember the time exactly, this kid had grown a full hand from being born with what should be a lifelong disability, okay? With prayer alone. There wasn't any, going to the hospital and they do some special test on him or something like that. Like, this was from strictly prayer alone. And what I feel like with this story is it shows that, number one, nothing is impossible. If a kid can grow a hand, you can manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest, okay? But it's the power of knowing the power within you, right? And really tapping into that and manifesting from that. So the power to heal your mind, or your mind's healing power, something like that, by Joseph Murphy. Or you can just type in Joseph Murphy kid growing back hand, maybe it'll pop up. Okay, now this one was something I saw on TikTok, and this girl had said that she had went into Whole Foods and she had no money. And she said, okay, well, she's going to manifest somebody paying for her groceries, right? So she says she fills up her basket, walks to the front of the line, and by the time she's waiting in line, still no money has shown up. Nobody has like offered to pay for her. Like, she's literally checking out and nobody has offered to pay for her. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, I'll be so embarrassed if I have to put all this stuff back because I didn't manifest it, right? And literally at the last second, she says a Venmo came in for, I think, like $1,000 or something. I can't remember the exact amount. And from somebody that owed her money from like a year ago or something like that, paid her. And in that moment, and she was able to buy her groceries. Like, I just have to commend this girl for her faith. Like, that's crazy to just walk in the grocery store, fill up your basket, go through checkout, expecting. But you guys, you see how potent expectation is, and really honestly how potent your mind is. Like, I know that people in the manifestation community talk about, you don't need faith, you don't need faith. And sure, if you are in a situation where you can't have faith, then fine. But you should not discard faith. Faith makes everything so much easier, quicker, and more magnificent and amazing, right? I actually spoke to the girl, and she has a book, which I'm going to see if I can link in the description. But I actually spoke with her because I was like, I just want to like have a conversation with you. Like, you're an incredible manifester. And her book is amazing. Her book is basically about like different procrastination cycles and getting into flow, rather than like trying mode and everything like that. I still haven't finished it, but it's a really good book. She's a really cool girl. Her name on TikTok is Your Motivational Bestie. But yes, I like hearing that story is like, wow, that's awesome. Okay, this one is a story that I've definitely told on this channel before, but like years ago. But this is the story that got me into SATs. Okay, this is when I first learned about SATs. This is how it was taught to me, right? And I think it was Jake Ducey, actually, who is a law of attraction teacher on YouTube. But he was talking, it was basically a father who had a child. His child had appendicitis, and for whatever reason, they weren't able to operate on her. I'm not sure, but she was basically dying. And the father was desperate, and he's like sitting by her bedside, seeing her with all these tubes in her and just sick and dying. And he, you know, in his desperation, he stumbles across the law of assumption and stumbles across SATs, which is state akin to sleep, right? And so which I think I need to make an updated video about SATs. Let me know if you guys want that. But yeah, so in his scene, he saw his daughter doing a pirouette. Is it a pirouette or a pirouette? I don't know, but doing a pirouette. And he just looped that scene of seeing his daughter do the turn, do the turn, do the turn. And because that implied that his daughter, if she's dancing, if she's doing spins, then obviously she's made a full recovery and she's healthy, right? So not only does she make a full recovery, but what makes this so impossible is that her appendix was amputated within her body. The doctors did not go inside and amputate it. They said her appendix was amputated within her body and formed the most perfect scar tissue that the doctors had ever seen, okay? That story was the story that got me like, okay, let me try the SAT stuff going. Like, let me try the SAT stuff out. But yeah, incredible, right? There's no way, there's no explanation for that, you guys, other than God, right? So that power is within you. And we stumble upon the law of assumption, you know, a lot of times, manifestation in our desperation for whatever that is, you know, but you have to see that it's such a gift because you're learning to use this power that you'll be able to use for anything and everything in your life to completely transform any part of your life that you choose. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So this one is from Jennifer Ramdeo, who is someone that I personally worked with when I began learning about the law of assumption. She's like a mentor to me, one of the best teachers, if not the best teacher in modern day of the law of assumption, in my opinion. She has just like, if you guys like my vibe, like the like loving, kind vibe, she has all that going on. Just super like ethereal, angelic, amazing. I love her so freaking much. And you guys can check her out. She has a YouTube. It's called I Am Love, but I would check out the blog because the blog has more stories and they have a podcast, everything, but it's called I Am Love. Just type in I Am Love, Jennifer Ramdeo. But anyways, so she has actually 2 stories on this list, but the first one is her manifesting a drink to appear in her refrigerator. And so basically she was just playing around with the law of assumption. And she says, okay, well, if what I see in the refrigerator is only there because I assume that it's there, I'm going to assume that there's a drink in there, like that there's a whatever type of drink. I think it was like iced tea or something that she wanted, right? So she looked in there was no drink in there. She closed the door and went upstairs. And I don't remember even how, I think she just assumed it because she's not even like a technique person. She's just really tapped in with her God power. And so she goes downstairs and opens her refrigerator and there is a tea in there. And this was like instantaneous. Like this was in like the same day, like the same couple hours or something like that. Nobody came in her house. Nobody else was there, just her. She literally manifested it out of thin air, basically. So when I heard this story, this is kind of a part 2 to this story. When I heard this story, I was like, wow, that's crazy, right? Now, if you guys don't know, I'm a Dunkin' girl. I go to Dunkin' like every day, and I have gone like every day for like the past like, I don't know, 7, 8 years of my life. And so the Dunkin' that was by my house before I lived here had a huge pothole when you pull into the drive-through. And it was, you know, you had to navigate around it. Like it was a huge pothole. And so after hearing her story, I was like, that's crazy. Well, that pothole is only there because I assume that it's there, right? And I'm just going to assume that it's not there anymore. You guys, I drove to the Dunkin' that day and it was not there anymore. It had been filled in. So, and I mean, it's not like I had just moved there or anything. I had lived there for like a good year and a half or so. And that pothole was there until I decided that it wasn't there anymore and it was filled in. There was even another big pothole around the same area that within a few months was filled in as well, right? So try that with something trippy, you guys, you know? And I mean, these are the type of things that allow you to see that there really is only imagination, right? So, okay, so this one is my legal trouble that I could have gotten into that I didn't get into, but let me tell you guys the story. So this is back when I first discovered manifestation, not even the law of assumption, but manifestation in general. So this is like, I had to be like maybe 21 and I am smoking like a big fat blunt in the car. I had weed in my, in like a Rello pack, right? Like a bright blue Rello pack, had that in the car. And I'm like hotboxing the car and I'm driving, right? And so I'm getting on the highway. And as I'm getting on, you know how like when you're pulling onto the highway, like when you're waiting to pull onto the highway behind somebody and, you know, like you're looking to make sure nobody's coming, but you're also looking in front of you to make sure that the person in front of you has pulled off. So I see her pull off. I check behind me to make sure that nobody's coming and I start to pull off, but she had slammed on her brakes. So I like ran into the back of her, right? So again, this is like almost 10 years ago at this point. So weed was not legal, like anywhere really. And maybe Cali by then, but I don't know. But weed was not legal where I live at all. And not only that, I just got in an accident. Not only that, I have my car is full of smoke, right? I have weed in the car. So that's like, how many charges can you count? DUI, you know, having weed on me, you know, hitting this girl's car, all of these things, right? So I'm literally freaking the fuck out, right? And I get out the car and I'm like, okay, let me go check on her. I walk up to make sure that she's okay. Like our cars were fine. It wasn't a hard hit. But I walk up and like she like won't even roll her window down. She's like, you stupid bitch, like get away from my car. So I walk back to my car and I'm like thinking, well, before I walked to her car, actually, I'm in my car and I'm like, holy fuck, like my car is filled with smoke at this point. If I roll the windows down, she's gonna see the smoke pour out of my car. Like she's gonna see that. She's already probably pissed off because I just hit her car and the cops are obviously coming. But I can't have the cops pull up with all this smoke in my car. That's not gonna work. So what I do is I end up putting down all the windows. I turn on some meditation music and I sit in the car and meditate. I tried to clean out my car because my car like was full of just like blunt wrappers, just all kind of stuff. So that after I roll down my windows and I clean out my car a bit, I take the weed that's in my console and I try and toss it down the ditch, right? But it's in a Rello pack and the Rello packs are like foil. So that it doesn't go far. It literally falls at the like on the passenger side on the ground. So, and then I take the blunt and I throw the blunt obviously goes away. So I walk up to her. This is when I walk up to her window and she's like, get away from my window. Like, I don't want to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So I go back to my car and I sit in the car and I meditate, you guys, for the entire time while we're waiting on the cops. And I'm repeating in my head over and over, it can only go the way I say it's going to go. It can only go the way I say it's going to go. Everything is working out for me. It can only go the way I say it's going to go. And I'm repeating that and calming myself and calming myself and calming myself because I'm like, the idea of if I have peace inside, I will have peace outside. If I have harmony inside, I will have harmony outside. So I'm literally like meditating like, okay. So the cops pull up, right? The cops pull up and they go talk to her first, right? And while they're her parents have pulled up at this point and they're talking to her and then another car pulls up. So I'm like, fuck, like, oh my God, like they know, like something's happening, all this stuff. And I just I keep in my mantra, it can only go the way I say it's gonna go. It can only go the way I say it's gonna go. You guys, the cop walks up. So the cop walks up to my passenger side. So that means that the weed is at his feet, literally, you guys. And when I tell you guys to this day, this is the nicest cop I've ever come across ever. He was a sweet, kind, like older man. He's smiling. He's like, you know, what happened? What happened? Was it just too sunny? Did your eyes did you just get blinded by the sun? He's like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, it happens. Don't worry. It's okay. Here, I'm just going to give you a ticket and you can just be on your way. That's what happened, you guys. And y'all that smoke or have been in cars that smoke, you guys, weed is not something that just leaves. Like when you smoke in your car, that's not something that just leaves. Even if you roll down the window and spray and do all that stuff, it's in the seats. You can smell it. Like, but he told me, no, just take a ticket and you're good. Like that was it. Both of our cars were basically fine. So it wasn't a big deal. But I say that to say, that was a situation where y'all, if y'all knew how like y'all can tell I am not built for jail, okay? Like not built for jail. And that was what I was really being faced with, to be honest, like to be real. That was what I was being faced with a whole bunch of other inconveniences and trouble that I could have gotten into. But I knew like sometimes that's when we want to fold, you guys, is when we're under pressure. But that's when you have to be even stronger in your faith, even stronger in your intention, stronger in your affirmation, that it can only go the way that you want it to go. And for you, I don't want to say it's do or die because I don't want to make it seem like that, but it's worth it for you. It's important for you, especially when it comes to things that have the potential to ruin your life or to make things really hard for you. It's even more important then to exercise the power of your mind, okay? And I was still a very much beginner manifestor at that point. So, okay, this one is another one from Jennifer. So this one is super crazy. So she has 2 dogs. I don't know if she still has, but this is from years ago. But she basically had a instance where she was thinking about how old her dogs were. And she was thinking about how one of them was 10 and one of them I think was like 11 going on 13. And she was sad because she was like, oh my God, like my dogs are in their double digits and, they're going to pass soon. And she was sad and she cried and all that stuff. And then she decided to manifest her dogs being younger, right? She decides to manifest her dogs being younger. You guys, it actually worked. To the point that she didn't even, it wasn't like she was checking, you can't ask the dog, how old are you? You know what I mean? But so she's having a conversation with her mom and she's like, yeah, so-and-so is 10 and about to be whatever. And her mom's like, no, they're not. They're 8. He's 8. And she's like, no, he's not 8. Like he's 10. And she goes to her phone to go back to like the dog's birthday or like when they bought it or something crazy like that. And the dates literally shifted, you guys. Like the date actually changed, okay? So her dogs literally, and the older dog had also reversed ages, like reversed to where I think he was like 9 going on 10 or something instead of 10 going on 11. Something crazy like that. And again, all these stories are on her page, on her blog page. The IamLove.co. So that was crazy to me. Okay. Like if you're changing the age of somebody, like, and this is the things that a lot of you guys, some of you guys come in the comments asking like, can I do this? Can I change that? Can I change that? Yes, you absolutely can. But you guys, you want to be in a God state, right? And I think videos like this is the first step into getting into the God state and realizing that it really truly is whatever I say that it is. Okay. 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 So this one is revising smoking and drinking. Now I have also talked about this, in previous videos, but I had a friend who smoked cigarettes for about 12 years. She had a friend, a baby daddy who was an alcoholic for like longer than that probably. And so I was talking with her about revision one day and I told her, we were literally looking at a blanket with all the fuzzes on it. And I was like, look at all these fuzzes. Every fuzz represents a parallel reality. And there's a reality where you never smoked at all. And you hate the smell of smoke. You always just cough like super dramatically because you just hate the smell of smoke. You've never smoked, right? 2 months later, she quits cold turkey, right? Now, while we were doing that, we did the same thing for her baby dad. And we were like, he doesn't drink anymore. He's never drank. He doesn't like alcohol. And, obviously being an alcoholic kind of makes you a bad parent. So, I was like, no, he's a great parent. Like he loves being involved. He loves, like doing all this, whatever. And honestly, you guys, to be honest, when we did this, I wasn't really expecting too much from it. You know what I mean? Like you guys know how addictive cigarettes are. You guys know how it is with alcoholics, right? So I wasn't even really yeah, I know this is going to work. I just did it to do it, right? But I know how the mind works, so I know that it could work, right? So my friend quits cold turkey, after a couple months, still doesn't smoke, right? The baby daddy stops drinking, right? And his took a little bit longer and he had actually relapsed. And she had told me, oh, he started drinking again and this and that happened. When she told me that, I revised it. And I was like, no, he doesn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And to this day, he is sober. He is sober and he's involved in his kid's life, involved in her activities. And it's funny because I found myself thinking this morning, wow, he's really showing up for his kid. I can really see change in him. And it hit me the revision that we had done. And even my friend is like, I still can't believe that worked on him, because this guy was really into that, really bad and in the alcohol area. But yes, it was done. And not that that's impossible, but for you guys that have dealt with addiction or dealt with people who deal with addiction, you see how impossible that can be, okay? And the last one is one that I tell in like so many stories or so many videos, because it's one of my favorite stories of Neville, and that is Neville getting out of the army. And Neville was drafted into the war. He was drafted into World War II. And obviously he had just had a baby, he had his wife, he didn't want to be there, obviously. So he said he would just basically use his imagination that he was sleeping at home with his wife and that he was in New York and not in the barracks. And all day he just saturated his mind with being home, right? So he wrote an appeal and basically told his commanding officer, like, hey, I'm trying to go home, you know? And the commanding officer was like, that's too bad, because, you know, like, we need you. Like, you're just the type of guy that we need here for the war. So I'm sorry, I can't send you home. Neville went home and mentally crossed out, because the guy put like a stamp of rejection on his appeal. Mentally crossed that out and saw the approval. Literally, I think it was like a couple weeks later, the person calls him back and decides that, yes, you can go home, for no absolute reason, you guys. Like, and I tell this story a lot because, you guys, being in a world war, you guys, to where you're being drafted, like, they're drafting people because they don't have enough soldiers. So how are you as a completely, it's not like he lied and said he was mentally disabled or got himself hurt on purpose or anything. He literally just basically just got a free pass to go home to be with his wife from manifesting. That's crazy. That's crazy, you know? And it shows, like, I'm sure for a lot of us, if we found ourselves in a situation like that, we wouldn't even think of manifestation to get out of there. Like, how is that? That's just not possible. But it is possible, and it happened. So these are my top 10 influential, amazing, miraculous stories that I have seen, heard, or experienced in manifestation that help me to know that absolutely nothing is impossible, you guys. Everything is possible. Anything is possible. It's just your mind. It's not even about your mind conceiving it. It's just about trying. It's about just continuously bringing your mind back to your end state and realizing that it can only go the way that you say it's gonna go, okay? So I'm intending that helps you. I love you guys. Like the video, comment on the video. Let me know if you guys want another one, because I'm sure I know I have more impossible stories to share with you guys. But I love you guys, sending you love, and I will see you guys in a video soon.